Hello everybody, Father Sean here again. I am talking about anger today. Last time I was doing a little video on sloth and I didn't know really who was listening, and I heard that someone was listening to it in their car, and they were like, Father Sean, like, when are you going to do the rest of the capital sins? I was like, I hadn't thought about it, but I guess I will. I was also motivated by someone who was listening to this on sloth, and immediately I heard they put down their computer or phone or whatever it was, and they got to work. I was like, oh my gosh, it's working. So praise the Lord. If it's fruitful for you, may it continue to be fruitful. I'm going to look at one of the next capital sins, the sin of anger. The sin of anger, which might be a small little thing, but it's super easy to let that keep on expanding and causing all kinds of damage. So one of the risks of the sin of anger is that, there seems to be this tipping moment where all of a sudden it's just like, I'm gone. I've left the world and there's no return. It's kind of like this tipping moment is like shutting the door on a rocket ship, and we're in the rocket ship and we're gone and we're just blowing up, and we're just gone until the ride is finished, until the trip is concluded. And then we get out of the rocket ship and we're like, oh shoot. Did I really just ruin all those relationships? Did I really say those things? Are you serious? Do I have to apologize for all these things? And it's super scary. This is one of the big risks, that there is this blindness that is involved with anger. This is the moment where we shut the door of that rocket ship, and we're just on the path of no return. This is the blindness, and we don't realize what's happening in the midst of it. And the sad part about this side of its riskiness is that usually the people who are the victims of our anger are the people who are closest to us. Husbands and wives, children, family members. And these are the people that we love the most, but for some reason, these are the people who take the brunt of our anger. I think probably in confession, one of the most common sins is just anger or lack of patience with people. And, I get that because I have that same temptation. So we really need to look at this sin here a little closer. Another way of looking at this as a very risky spiritual disease is in the sense of, we kind of reflect on what Jesus said about it. He says, you have heard it said that you shall not kill. But I say to you, whoever is angry will be liable to judgment. It's kind of like, Jesus, holy smokes, are you serious? Oh shoot, I guess I'll try not to be angry if it means that I could be judged negatively on the other side of this world. So we're trying to also listen to Jesus and take Jesus at his word and letting him give us a warning on what we might find on the other side, so we can prepare for this, so that we can prepare for it. So let's now look at the sin of anger itself. Let's define it. Let's figure out what this is. Anger has kind of two components to it. There is the exterior cause, where there is the infliction of pain or something that we don't want. This is someone cutting you off in traffic. This is someone who can't, check you out at the grocery store very well. This is someone who's talking too much. This is your child who, just wet their pants again, or whatever it is. This is someone or something, or maybe even something about yourself that is frustrating you, that is causing you some degree of pain. This is the exterior conflict that is brought before you. And then there's also our choice that is involved here. There is the side of this interior movement towards that thing which is inflicting us. And we desire revenge. I'm not talking about we're going to go and call in the family and go to town like the mafia would seek revenge. But there's this impulse to, quote unquote, right this wrong. And if you cause me pain, I'm going to cause you just the same degree of pain. Nothing more, but nothing less. So this is sometimes the expression of anger. It doesn't have to be, because we can just experience that impulse towards this revenge. We don't actually have to seek the revenge. So the unique thing about anger among the capital sins is that it is also a passion. It's also an emotion in our soul, that we can feel this impulse towards this revenge when we are inflicted with pain. But it becomes a sin when we give space to that desire for revenge and say, okay, I'm gonna entertain this experience, this interior emotion. I'm going to entertain this. I'm going to accept it a little bit and just kind of ride with it a little bit and see where it takes me. Or the other way that it becomes sinful is that when we are feeling this desire for revenge, desire to right the wrong and to inflict that pain right back at them, well, when it starts to influence our decisions. When we're like, you know what, I'm going to say something here. I'm going to say something. I'm going to make sure they hear me. It's like, okay, there it is. That is when it becomes sinful. That is when it becomes sinful. And again, it's kind of like that rocket ship. We're like, I'm just going to take a little ride with it. I'm going to hop on the ship. I'm not going to close the door behind me. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to just be a little bit angry. And then all of a sudden, the engines turn on and the door locks behind you and you're sitting there and all of a sudden, the fire ignites. So this is a little bit of our experience with anger. It can be a righteous anger. Let's not ignore that as well. We hear about the anger of God. We should also note God does not have emotions. This is kind of a human way of interpreting how God is relating with the world. But we hear about, at times, the anger of God, the wrath of God. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And he will be the one who does, in fact, right all wrongs on the day of judgment. There's just no doubt about that. It's super clear. Jesus Christ, he went into the temple. We see him manifest this anger. After he saw the sinfulness of the people who are manipulating the good, holy use of sacred space, of this temple that God has consecrated for himself, well, it's being misused. And he goes and hates that misuse. He is aiming not at the people, but he is aiming at the abuse of something that is good. And he hates the sin. He does not hate the sinner. He is seeking to right these wrongs and not necessarily to condemn these people. There will be a day where God does right those wrongs regarding those people, not at his spite, but in the sense of restoring the justice that we sinners have introduced in the world. This is why we need to look to him for forgiveness here and now. But also regarding this righteous anger, I think we need to be super careful about this because we can get a little bit, we can have high attitudes of ourselves regarding anger. It's like, well, I know anger is risky, but I think I can manage my anger fine. St. Francis de Sales, he's kind of like the church's guru spiritual director, and he says kind of the opposite. He notes that it's better to live without anger than to think that we can control it and act according with right reason. It's not to say that it's impossible to do that, but he's saying like, hey, look, that's a dangerous, dangerous path to walk down. And maybe God will bring you down that path. But it's going to be better for us to have the attitude of like, I cannot indulge in any anger. And I have to really jump out of that boat before it takes me further on. I have to get out of that situation before I blow up and I go and do something extreme. He says that the sin of anger is blinding, but this righteous anger can be troubling because it can also, it causes us to waver on being exactly on this acting in accordance with right reason. So I've talked about the risks of anger. I've talked about what anger is as a sin, as an emotion, as a righteous vindication of some wrong that has been done. And now let's look at finding ways to cure it, because it ain't going to help talking about it unless I can get a cure for it, because it's tough. It really does cause great conflict among families, and it's very important. So there's a number of things. Well, first off, I want to mention how good it is when we do overcome it. A few quotations in the Bible. One of the Proverbs says, "He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He who rules his spirit is better than he who takes a city." He is saying it is more important and more impressive for one to own and conquer and be the master of his own self, his own spirit, all of his impulses, than someone who is doing this in an exterior way. He's conquering new cities, new countries. He's a great warrior. He's a great military leader, but he can't control himself. And the biblical wisdom here is it is more impressive, more inspiring. It is better when we can control ourselves. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who are patient, those who are able to have all these strong inner impulses and just say, oh, I'm not going to touch them. I'm not going to indulge those at all. I'm not going to entertain them or accept them at all. I'm just going to be meek and humble and let God take care of all these things. And this is how good it is. It is good. This person will inherit the earth, in the words of Jesus. We don't know exactly what that means other than it's really good. So it is a blessing. Now, first off, in this how to advance outside, or how to depart from a way of life that is indulging in anger into a way of life that is indulging in peace, the first step is to recognize it. If you can't recognize it, you got to pray in the morning, like, Lord, give me peace. It's going to come. It's going to hit me like a ton of bricks. I know it will, and you got to help me out first. But in that situation, we really need to be aware of what's going on inside of us. One is that impulse coming up when there's this exterior confrontation with some kind of pain, when someone is or something is bringing us something we don't like. We need to be aware of that. And then immediately ask, Lord, give me peace in this, give me peace in this, give me peace in this. Then we need to step out of that situation. We can't just be like, I'm going to get angry. Well, I'm just going to keep on walking into that. I'm just not going to avoid that person, or I'm not going to leave this situation. I'm not going to run away. I'm not going to control my thoughts. I'm just going to say, well, I'm just going to stick in this situation. No, that's wrong. We need, when we are confronted with this impulse to anger, we need just to step away. Even if it's in our thoughts, we need to turn our thoughts towards something else. Because when we meditate on wrongs done to us, it just gets us angry. And we need to turn our mind to something else. Maybe one of the things that we can turn our mind to is how good this other person is. I can think of one person who had somebody in their life who was really getting on their nerves, and they were with that person every single day. So as part of this person's practice, they would write something good about that person every day. And they had done this for months, and it was transforming for this person. So instead of meditating on wrongs done to us, we are now meditating and thinking about the good that this person is. We have to apologize immediately after we have sinned with our anger. It doesn't matter if this is a kid. It doesn't matter if this is an elderly person, if it's a priest, if it's a priest to someone else. We have to apologize, and it has to be quick, and it has to be sincere. This is very important in controlling and dominating our own anger and our own spirit. We need to recognize that, dishonors can do us some good. And if we recognize that dishonor can do us some good, when people dishonor us, we can begin to recognize this as an opportunity, as opposed to an opportunity for our impulse for revenge to come forward. It can now be an impulse for our humility to come forward and be like, oh, wow, this is something I deserve, and God is going to work a deeper virtue within me because of this temptation right now. It's an opportunity for the good as opposed to an opportunity for anger. And then the final tip I have is just be joyful. Sing a song. If you're feeling angry, well, sing a joyful song to the Lord. Sing hallelujah. Sing whatever you want. Just sing an hallelujah song, sing an Easter song, sing, some joyful praise song or whatever it is. It can even be like a secular song. Just be joyful and sing it aloud. And it will help ease away that anger that you're feeling. If these are helpful for you, please like, comment, especially share these algorithms out there on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. They love that kind of stuff. So do what you can, and if this is helpful, if you know of someone who you think can benefit. Until next time, Father Sean here. May God bless each and every one of you. Peace, brothers and sisters. Peace to you.